Why was the refrigerator invented? To keep food fresh for longer, right? It seems logical. But did you know that sometimes we put things in the fridge that really don't belong there? In fact, some foods spoil faster or lose their nutrients when kept cold. You'll be surprised by some of the items on this list. So stick around until the end, because we're going to break down in detail which foods you should never store in the fridge. Oh, and before we dive into the list, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my new videos. First on the list, potatoes. Believe it or not, potatoes should never be stored in the fridge. In rural areas, they've always been kept in cellars or basements, and for good reason. The cold temperature in your fridge actually causes the starch in potatoes to turn into sugar, raising their sugar content, something you want to avoid, especially if you're watching your diet. On top of that, the flavor changes, and when stored at temperatures below 3 degrees Celsius, they can start producing harmful substances, including carcinogens, after they're cooked. So, pay attention to where you're keeping those spuds. Next, onions. Have you noticed your onions getting moldy in the fridge? That's because they don't do well in the cold, humid environment of a refrigerator. Ideally, you should store them in a cool, dry place, but not as cold as the fridge. And here's a tip you might not know. Never store onions and potatoes together. When they're kept close, the gases they release cause both to spoil much faster, so always keep them separate for longer freshness. Let's talk about honey. Honey is one of those rare foods that practically never spoils. In fact, some containers even mention that honey has an indefinite shelf life. High-quality honey can last for thousands of years. There's even evidence of ancient honey found in tombs that's still edible. So putting honey in the fridge is not only unnecessary, but can also change its texture. It'll become thicker and lose its smooth flow. The best place to store honey is in a cool, dark spot at room temperature, away from sunlight to preserve its natural benefits. Citrus fruits like oranges, lemons, and grapefruits don't belong in the fridge either. While it might seem like a good idea to keep them cold, refrigeration actually causes them to spoil faster. They can start to rot or grow mold more easily in the fridge's damp environment, and if they're left too long, they might even lose their natural flavor and freshness. The same goes for leafy greens. Many of us make the mistake of storing greens in the fridge wrapped in plastic, which actually causes them to wilt and lose their vitamins faster. And remember, if you see mold on any part of your greens, it's best to throw away the whole bunch because the spores have likely spread. Olive oil is another item that doesn't do well in the fridge. If you've ever stored it there, you probably noticed that it solidifies and turns cloudy. This doesn't mean the oil is bad, but it's unnecessary. The ideal storage temperature for olive oil is between 12 and 16 degrees Celsius, so keeping it in a cool, dark cabinet is perfectly fine. Here's a tip. Some people say that if olive oil doesn't harden in the fridge, it might be fake. However, even some fake oils will solidify, so don't rely on this trick alone. Garlic also shouldn't be stored in the fridge. When kept in cold, humid environments, garlic tends to sprout quickly, losing its firmness and flavor. It becomes soft and less ideal for cooking. Instead, store garlic in a dry, well-ventilated place to keep it fresh and flavor. Finally, let's talk about watermelon. If you've bought a whole juicy watermelon, resist the urge to put it in the fridge. Cold temperatures cause it to lose valuable nutrients like carotenoids, which are great for your health. The only exception is when you've already cut the watermelon. In that case, wrap it tightly and store it in the fridge to keep it fresh for a little longer. Just make sure to cover it well to prevent it from drying out. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you usually store these foods in the fridge? Or do you have other tips for how to properly store certain products? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. And before you go, make sure to check out my next video where I reveal 4 foods you should never eat. The link is popping up on the screen. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe to the channel for more tips and tricks. I'll see you in the next one.